Okay, so now we're going to be joined by our guest today. He's a icon in the sports and bodybuilding universe, Mr. Danny Padilla. How you doing, Mr. Padilla?
I'm trying to stay young, but it isn't working.
You know what? They called him the giant killer. I'm going to tell you the first time I met Danny. I walk into Gold's Gym. This is, 30, 40 years ago more. And he's yelling at Lou Ferrigno, who was about 6'6", 260, Danny? I don't know, telling him to shut up.
He's 300 in the off season.
Oh, wow. Oh, I tell you, listen. He was yelling at him. I said, who is this guy yelling at at Lou Ferrigno, telling him to shut up? And it was Danny Padilla. I said, well, I want that guy to work with me. If he can tell all these other people to shut up.
He's going to yell at the actual Hulk.
Oh, my God. So, Danny, remember that?
Oh, yeah. Poor Louis, he used to make a little noise because he trained hard, and Louis, he had hearing problems, so he couldn't hear what he was doing. So we used to bust his chopper. He's a good guy, man. He would only let me get away with that. Anybody else, he might throw him through the window.
Oh, no. Yeah, Danny was tough. I'm telling you, he was tough. And how I met Danny, I just said, Danny, will you please work with me? And he started working with me. And he had this new thing of 10 seconds rest between sets. I still tell people about that. But his 10 seconds were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, go. I said, this man is going to kill somebody. He's going to kill me.
3.5 second rest.
But first of all, Danny, you were Mr. Universe. Please tell people all the accomplishments that you have done.
I started training when I was 7 years old because my older brother, my cousin, were wrestlers and they used to work out a little bit. So I picked up on it. And I competed in my first show, Mr. Rochester. I was still in high school. I didn't even know there was bodybuilding. And somebody said, you should go on a show. And I competed and I won. And that created a problem because I kept training and going on and on. And finally, I competed in the AAU and I competed in one show, the Junior Nationals. And they said, look, son, you got a great physique, but you're just too little. You'll never be good at this game. And I said, oh, yeah, I'll show you. And from that point on, I won the USA, Mr. America, Mr. Universe in the same year. I was top 5 in the Mr. Olympia. I was the first Hispanic to ever, and lightweight, to ever win Mr. America. So there's a lot of records that I have I didn't even know I had. But,
I saw you in the wide world of sports. Which was that? What was that award
you
won?
That was the Mr. Universe that I won. So for a whole year, I was on every Saturday.
Doing my word. And you beat Macaulay. What was his name?
Muhammad Macaulay. He was.
I remember.
He beat me in Toronto. Okay, and I was big. I weighed like 200 pounds, and the audience in Toronto was screaming. They wanted me to win, and Arnold was sitting there in the front telling me, "Hold your chest up, suck your belly in." So I said, "I'm going to get this guy back." So I had to go all the way to Nimes, France, and at the time, I was with Cal Scala. Do you remember Cal Scala?
Oh, he was nasty guy. Yes, I remember him.
Probably one of the strongest guys at the gym. Well, him and I competed in New York to win the right to compete in the universe. Okay, and at that time, Mike Menser was a star, and Joe Weider was kind of pushing him because he thought he would be the next Arnold. And I competed in New York, and Cal competed in New York, and we got a trophy to, and then we were supposed to get on a flight from Kennedy Airport to go to Europe. So we get to the airport, there's no ticket. So we call Ben, and Ben says, what are you talking about? The promoter's supposed to have the tickets. I said, what do you mean? So I looked at the Cal. I said, Cal, you know what? I live in Rochester. I'm right down the road. I'm going home. I'm tired of this crap. He goes, no, we're going to Europe. You're crazy. We got to go. So we called Tom Minicello at the time, who was promoting the show. And after a bunch of riffraff, we got to Europe. Okay. And it was like a nightmare. We take a flight, we get to Europe, and then the airlines go on strike. Now, meanwhile, the rest of the competitors around the world are already in France. And we're stuck in London somewhere. And it's 3 days out before the show, or 4 days out. And I said to Cal, we got to stay on a diet. So we were barely eating. And we finally, after 2 or 3 days, we got to France. but we had to get to Nemes, and there was a problem because another airstrike, you couldn't get on the plane. So I almost got arrested because it'd been a couple of days since we showered, and over there the sinks are like bathtubs. So I'm sitting in the sink washing myself, and everybody's looking, saying, "What the hell's that thing doing there?" And it was so funny. So the guy said, "Boo, boo, boo." I speak in French. I don't know what he's saying. And then one person, you can't do that. You got to get out of there. So, anyways, a guy recognized us. And he said, "You're the giant killer." I go, what giant killer? What are you talking about? He goes, yeah. I get you on the plane. I'm going to take your luggage. If they say, "What are you doing?" just keep walking up the ladder. And we got on that ramp and got on. And now we get to France, Nimes, France. We don't have a hotel room. Okay. I'm just like, what the heck? So after a bunch of scuffling with that, we finally get a room. And now we got 2 days to try to get our acts together. And so him and I were walking around, jogging, doing all this stuff, staying on a diet. So the morning of the show, Muhammad McCowie, he's the guy who used to get ripped, but I was in good shape just from starvation and this whole flight drama. So we get to get on the scale, right? And he's, eating chocolate, and I'm eating peanut butter with jelly on a slice of a wheat bread. And he said to me, should you not worry about that? And I said, "Champions don't worry about that stuff. I'm a champion." So the guys look at me and they say, "All right, you got to weigh yourself." So I got on the scale and I was completely covered. Or McCowie got in his posing trunks, like, he weighed 162 or something. So I got on the scale and they said, "No, you must take your clothes off." I said, "Why? If I make weight with the clothes?" "No, you must strip." So I got the stuff off. I get on the scale, and his agent said, "There's no way that guy is 162. So he said, "You have to check the scale. Something's wrong with it." So then I got back on. He said, "There's no way that guy's too big to be 162. He made them change the scale for me to get on, and I still was 162. And that was the end of that. And then when I finally won the show, the agent was upset because he said, "McCowie can't lose. He can't come back to Egypt without this title. We need to change that." And Ben said, "I can't do that. And that's been my whole career with problems. I competed against Robbie in New York. I scored a perfect score and lost.
Against Robbie Robinson?
Robbie Robinson. I beat him that night. Yeah. He had 297. I had 300. He ended up with the show. Wow, back then they did a point system. Robbie never talked about that. That was the only time. Well, I beat him in the Night of the Champions, my last show. But my bodybuilding career has been nothing but trouble. I don't know why I kept going. I had to be part insane.
No, you're legendary. You are. Everybody knows the giant killer. And when you walk into the gym, Danny, they respect you. You know why? It's for your personality. It's not only that you were a great bodybuilder, but you have a very aggressive personality, a dominating personality. And I'll tell you something, T.O. We'll go into the gym and work out. Now, if somebody is on the phone or something, and Danny wants to use that machine, oh, he gets them off. Or if they got too many weights, he doesn't play around. Danny will just say, "Get off." Yeah. Is that you, Danny?
That's it. In fact, I had a guy today in my own gym. The guy, I had to use this one machine, and we're limited, Rochester small. And this guy's doing one set, then he poses, then he gets on the phone. He's typing to I don't know what. And, he's on there too many minutes. So I said, "Dude, listen, I need this machine." He says, "Well, I'm still using it." I said, "I'll tell you what, I know that you must be rich because you're on that phone so much. You must be making a lot of money. So if I was you, I'd go to the counter there and sit and keep typing on your phone and make all that money while I finish this client." And he says, all right. So I had to finish the client. Then I had another guy. He puts the 5 pounds where the 10 pounds supposed to go, and the 10 pound where this and that. I said, "Hey, dude, what's up with that? You don't know how to count?" I said, "Put that stuff away. Put it where it belongs." I said, "Because we have to fix all these weights because morons like you just throw stuff around." I said, "You got to have some dramatic." And everybody says, "Who?" The one kid said, "Who's that jerk?" And the guy points up to the wall because they got this big picture of me like I'm something. And he says, "Oh, that guy." He goes, and then he comes over and says, "Listen, dude, I'm sorry. I says, I mean no harm to you. I just want to help you out because obviously you got a problem with the numbers." and it's okay.
Little moron.
So, Danny, tell us about you going to California and starting your bodybuilding career. When I starting, but continuing your bodybuilding career
Well, you
in
know what?
Venice Beach.
A good friend of mine, Larry Baker, I said, I won a show, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to go to California and compete for Mr. America. But I said, I can't afford to fly, and I hate flying because I would get sick. So I said, I'm going to drive. So he says, all right, I'll go with you. So I get my little hoopty, make sure everything's rolling, and we drive all the way to California.
From Buffalo.
Halfway there.
No, Rochester.
We get to Missouri from New York, and it is storming Norman. It was a hurricane. I thought it was going to eat us up. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. It was pure dark. You couldn't see nothing. And my buddy's driving, and I said, look, one of us got to drive past this truck, because you know how those trucks are blowing all that water back. I said, we can't follow them. We got to get in front of them. We got to get away from the storm, because I don't want to get swallowed up. So he just closed his eyes, and we got by that truck. So now we get all the way to LA nonstop, just about. And I walk into World Gym. Okay, first time I walk in there.
Worlds of Gold.
Stairs, and we're in California. And Ken Waller says, "Who are you?" I says, "I'm Dan." He goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I come to pick up my trophy." He goes, "Trophy?" Trophy. I said, "Mr. America, it belongs to me. I'm gonna pick it up." So Roger Kellard comes storming over to me, and I didn't know Roger at the time, but he would, he'd get ready for a show, and he used to get in great shape, but he would get mean as a bear, that guy. So he comes over to me, he says, "The hell you talking about? You're gonna pick up a trophy? You just got here and you don't even have a tan." I said, "I don't need a tan. I got muscles." I said, "You got a real nice tan." And then he got real aggressive with me, like he wanted to slam me around. And then Waller says, "I bet $1,000 that little guy beats you." And then he looks over to Arnold and says, "Arnold, you going to put the money up for me?" And Arnold says, "I don't gamble." So,
but Arnold, but wasn't Roger Arnold's boy?
Roger was training with Arnold at the time.
Yeah,
and he got in pretty good shape. But I was in tremendous shape, weighing 160, about a 168, 165, but I didn't have a great tan, but I was muscular. So we get in this show. Now, from my hometown, Pete Kumkowski, you know who Pete is?
Yes,
the guy that had the gym. He was pretty good in the AAU. He got Mr. America second twice, but he couldn't win the title. And I told him, "Let's go to the IFBB." He goes, "Oh, that we can't do good." I said, "Well, we can do it." He wouldn't do it, but I did it. So my first show was Madison Square Garden in New York, and that propelled me. But now I'm in LA trying to win Mr. America. Arnold's trainer, Roger Kellard. We get out, and Pete calling me up saying, "I'm 260 pounds shredded, and I'm going to crush you, Dan." I'm like, "That's all right, Pete. Don't worry."
It was was it 200 or 100?
He showed up. He was 260 pounds. He was a big dude. So now we get to the contest, right? And Ed Giuliani and I are talking. You remember Eddie Giuliani, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then you remember Arnold's partner. Well, he was helping Giuliani. He was training him a little bit and getting him ready. So now the short class was me, Giuliani, and some other guys I don't remember. And Roger and them were in the middle, and Pete was in the heavyweight. So now me and Ed Giuliani, they're making us do comparisons. And they say, "Do a front leg shot." And remember Tony Novak? He looks at
I love Tony.
He's looking at me and Giuliani, and he says, he goes like this with his head, "No, you lost that shot." And then he side chest, he goes, "No, you lost that shot." And then he said, "Ab shot." "No, you lost that shot." So poor Eddie was like destroyed. So now I'm the lightweight champion. Pete's the heavyweight champion, and Roger is the middleweight champion. So after a bunch of stuff, I win the whole show. Okay, I'm Mr. America. Now at the time, the famous Franco Palumbo, he ran the show, and the trophy was like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was one of those old trophies, but I was in shock. I thought, Mr. America, I'm going to get a trophy bigger than me. I'm only 5'2.5", and this thing looked like a trophy out of a Cracker Jack box. but it was the title that counted, right? And that's all there was to it. So now my one of my best friends is out there, and Waller says, "Come on, we're going to go party. We're going to celebrate." I said, "All right, I want to go take a shower." Now, meanwhile, I go in the back to take a shower, and all of a sudden they said, "Dan, you got to come back out." I go, "What?" They want to look at you guys over again. So here I am. I had to put my trunks on. I'm all wet. I got soap in my hair, okay, because Roger thought he should have won the show. And evidently the power of Arnold said, maybe we should look at it one more time to see. Now, I can't say Arnold did that, but who else could have done it? So, and Franco, he didn't like Rogers anyway, so he didn't care. He was happy that a midget won anyways, because, he was a powerful short guy too. He's one of the best. And anyways, we get back out there, and Frank Zane's one of the judges. Somebody else, they go, "No, Danny's the winner. That's it." So, yeah, they made me come out a second time to take that stupid show. And
you're talking about legendary people. And Frank Zane always came in with his wife, Chrissy. And remember, every day in the gym. And one time she told me, she says, I said, "Are you guys going to have any babies?" She says, "I got the biggest baby right here in Frank." and all the guys in the gym, but just tell them about some of the guys that were in Gold's gym. And it was like out of the 20 best in the world, you might have had the 10 best out of 20 at Gold's gym. Do you
Absolutely.
agree?
We had Ken Waller, heavyweight redhead. We had Dave Draper, another world champion. We had Franco, who was a monster. We had Ed Corney. We also had Mike Menser. Finally, Mike came in. And then Robbie, to us, he was Mr. Olympia every Friday. Until it came to the Mr. Olympia, he would have like a panic attack. But to me, he's an uncrowned Mr. Olympia for me. I mean, the guy was tremendous. And then we had Cal Scalick. The guy could bench 500, decline 500, and incline 500 on the same day. And then we had a guy named Marjanian. I don't know if you remember Marjanian.
Yes. Oh, big man. Oh,
that guy was the most powerful guy I ever saw. That guy could bend quarters. I mean, that's how crazy he was. And
remember, he had a motorcycle?
Yeah. The guy was an animal. We had, remember Pettis? He had 22-inch arms.
The black guy, yes.
Yeah. So we had the best of the best. And
Tom Platts,
me,
Lou,
it was probably one of the greatest times for me, because I always dreamt about bodybuilding. And here I am sitting with the best of the best. And of course, there was Arnold there too. And then Serge Nubret would come in from Europe. And what was great about that time, that atmosphere, people would come from all over the world to watch us work out. Yes. And they were courteous. They didn't want to bother you. They would say, "Okay, I want you to train. And then can we take a photo?" So it was like an era you'll never see. Today, it's a whole different ballgame. It's not the same.
Yeah, Mr. Goals, tell us about, when I would walk up, he was really nice to me. He says, "Kermit, you're the most polite guy who comes in here. You don't have to pay." It's very nice. But he was not always nice to a lot of people. He did not like music in there, right, Danny?
No. Now, he would, if you went into the gym, you couldn't wear a headset. He would say, "Why do you got that on for, you dingbat? Get that off your head. You got to know what's going on around you." He wouldn't go for that. And one time he was yelling at poor Louis. He didn't have his hearing aid on, and because Louis would make a little noise, but he would drop the weight a little bit, not purposely, but he would drop it. Then Joe go run over to him, and Louis, here's this guy, 6'6", 300 pounds. I mean, he could have easily tossed him like a loaf of bread. He's just sitting there like a little kid being scolded by Joe Go, who finally kicked him in the shin, "Dingbat, don't you drop the weight." And we were laughing so hard. And Louis is such a good guy, he just said, all right, I got you. But remember Ira, who used to train Louis? I don't know if you remember Ira, he had the curly hair. He was his trainer.
No, and I don't remember him
too, but it was the golden era, like they said. It really was.
Well, funny thing about Arnold, when Arnold came in, tell me if I'm wrong, when he would come in to work out, everybody would stop for a second, because Arnold would always greet people. I mean, am I wrong? He would greet people when he's walking in, and sometimes he would be facetious. "You're looking good today." And maybe somebody's not looking. So remember, he used to tease some people, trying to teach them how to train them, Danny.
Oh, yeah. Arnold would say, he would look at a bodybuilder. He says, "Let's see a body shot." And the guy would do a shot. And then he'd say, how much time left for your contest? And he'd say, oh, I got 3 weeks. I think maybe you should wait till next year. You're not ready. He was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then,
So
I mean, if you watch Pumping Iron, I'll never forget, we went to breakfast that morning, and they called us all downstairs to do the video for Pumping Iron. And we're all sitting at the breakfast table. And, you know, Arnold, he comes down, he looks at Louis, and Louis' parents are there. And Arnold looks at his mother, and his mother says, oh, Arnold, the king is here. What's going on? He goes, I just got off the phone talking to my mother and told her I won the Olympia. And she's like, what do you mean? It's not till tomorrow. And he says, well, Louis looks fantastic, but maybe in 3 weeks he'll be ready. And that's the kind of stuff he would do.
Oh, I'll tell you, but
It was tremendous. And then, you know what? The only other guy that I knew that would make people stop is when Sergio Oliva would walk in the gym. This guy had a 29-inch waist, 30-inch thighs, 21 and 22-inch arms. I mean, the guy was a savage, and he was powerful. The guy could, he was an Olympic lifter, and he worked for Cuba, and he won a medal in the Olympics. So this guy could flip up 315, 405, and throw it over his head like nothing. So he was powerful, and he would always bother Arnold, you know. He'd say, why do you tell everybody you're strongest man in the world? I'm strongest man. And Arnold would say, you're very strong, but I'm a lover. I don't fight. I'm a lover. And that kind of stuff. So we used to have a ball in there. The only good thing I could say back in that time when somebody had a problem, guys would help you. Today, it's a different ball game. You know, back then it was like a family. Even if you didn't like a guy, you helped them. And Joe Gold helped a lot of the bodybuilders. Joe Weider got a lot of credit, but Joe Gold helped a lot of the bodybuilders back then.
But they got along back then. I mean, they went out and tan together. They would lift together. Nowadays, that's not the case anymore.
No, it's a different ball game now. I guess, you know, for me, the game, as good as it is, I always say it's low-paying wages. A bowler can make $1 million, and bodybuilders, Mr. Olympia, still doesn't make $1 million. And these guys all say to me, well, he made 300,000 or 400, whatever. And I don't even know, because I don't even know who's Mr. Olympia. I don't keep up with any of this stuff. And I say, well, what did it cost to get in that kind of shape? Mm-hmm. You know, it's a different era. The medications that these guys are using, they're all dying at 35 and 40. And, you know, it's crazy now. And, you know, people say to me, what do you think of these new physiques? I don't think anything about it. It's what's, I always say to the guy, you can't get mad at these guys. That's what's in style right now. Big and muscular, and that's what's in style. So who am I to sit here and say, oh, that's not a good physique? It's a great physique. That's what's in style. Now, do I have to like it? No. I mean, I would want to be a little more athletic than some of these guys, but that's just me. But that's what's in style. And so it has to be accepted. You know, when Elvis Presley first came out, he was the double. Oh, he's shaking his hips. You know, they arrested him. Look at what he went through. And now these new guys come out. We all dreamed about being the biggest monster in the world. Now you got them for real. They all look like these toys for Marvel or something. But, you know, it is what it is. That's the new game.
Tell me this. When I was still there, Ronnie Coleman came in, and he has trouble even walking now. But you know what he told me? I have pictures of him. We took pictures together. He says, Kermit, he says, even when I die, I can say I was the best in the world for 8 years or 7 or 8 years. And he says, what else can you say on your deathbed? That at one point I was the best in the world. And he's a very humble man. He's not braggadocious or anything else like that. But he just said, I can say, even though I'm hurt up now, I can hardly walk. He says, I was the best in the world for 8 years. What do you think about that statement, Dan?
Well, see, to me, it's very sad because these guys, a guy like him, he had the aesthetics that he was like a Sergio. He had a phenomenal physique. But unfortunately, it's like some of these guys in the NFL, when it's time to go, it's time to go. And so now, to me, the mistake that I think he made was, he had knowledge because he knew how to get in shape. He was probably one of the strongest guys around. And so instead of saying, all right, my time is up, I'm going to get into teaching and divert all that power that he had and all that knowledge into something different. You got to switch now. And that's what the problem with a lot of these guys. They don't want to give up those 20-inch arms. You know what? We're going to get old. They're going to go away. So you got to get ready for the next life. And I think that's a mistake that he made. But he was tremendous. You know, there's no doubt about it. But to me, you know, I'd rather give it all up and be able to walk and be normal and finish being old and do what I got to do because he was so good. But it was after the fact that he retired. You know, he was hurt. And he kept doing astronomical weights, watching that video. And it was sad that none of his friends, so-called friends, would say, you know, Ron, I think it's time to back up a little bit. You got more to give in other directions. And nobody really did that with him. But he's a good guy. It hurts me to see him that way. Because I remember seeing him when he was very young, when I did a show in Columbus and he was just coming out. And he was really a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy. He didn't disrespect anybody. And he was a real champion. But for me, you can keep your 8 titles. I want to be able to walk, see my grandchildren and that kind of stuff. And so I guess for him, it was worth it. But I always tell people, don't be afraid to be great. It don't last long.
How about Flex Wheeler? What do you think? I used to talk to him.
That was sad. You know what? He had probably one of the prettiest bodies in the game. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, he got sick. And we don't know if it was the foods or if he had underlying problems. And eventually, it destroyed him. And, you know, today, look, when I help people train, and they'll come up to me and say, Dan, I need your help. What should I take? I go, what do you mean? What should you take? Well, what drug should I take? I said, you're done. Have a good life. And they say, what's wrong with you? I said, dude, you don't even have a body. What do you need a drug for? I said, you need to create a base first. I said, when you build a house, you build a base first, and then you decide where you're going to go from there. But right now, you shouldn't be worried about drugs. You should be worried about training, what are your abilities are, what are your genetic potentials. And I always tell them, get an education first. Let's have both. Be a smart bodybuilder. And, you know, they don't want to hear it. But to me, that's what I try to emphasize with these young kids. You need to go to school. You need that little bit of paper. And then if you become good at this game, you can actually be in the educated mode where you can help people. But
did you ever have a time that you had a major injury setback that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I had believe it or not, I had a hip replacement, and now I need a shoulder replacement. And it was just, you know, stupid stuff. You know, I fell off a roof doing some work, and then eventually I had open heart surgery because I had a lot of blockage and genetic because my mother had the same thing. I mean, so for myself, I went through hell, and I'm still rolling. You know, I'll be 73 in April. And I've had to deal with a lot of stuff. And lately I went to my doctor and I said, look, it's been almost 3 years since I worked out. And they're saying to me, well, you can't lift your arms over your head. And we don't want you to do benches. I said, what do you mean I can't lift my arms over my head? Well, the blood will go to your heart. And right now we want to wait a little bit. I said, look, I got it. She says, well, you can work your legs though. I said, what good are my legs? I said, I got breasts like a woman right now. I'm gonna have to buy a bra if I don't start working out. She goes, well, you could diet better. I said, I'm a master of the diet. I said, no, I need to start working out a little bit. So we need to come up with a program. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to start working out again. But yeah, I went through it. I've got a shoulder. They want to replace my shoulder. I said, no. I had the hip replacement. I got through that. And then I had, like I said, open heart surgery. And I survived all that. And so I said, you know what? I can't jump around like Jack LaLanne anymore. But I can educate people and try to give them some good information.
Oh, you do?
What I'm doing now.
Tell me this. Now, you knew Jack LaLanne at all?
I seen him back in the day when I was a youngster, and he was an animal.
He was.
He was an animal. The stuff that guy could do was freaky. I thought he was from outer space. But, you know, I don't know. The guy was just a super athlete.
Yeah, they said Alcatraz, they said, well, those convicts couldn't have swam, excuse me, to the shore.
Right.
He harnesses a boat with people in it.
And pulls it.
Yes, with our and swims with the people in the harness
Yeah.
all the way to the shore
Right.
by him just swimming. That man was incredible. Do you
Yeah,
have
you
any
must
funny
not right.
stories about Arnold Schwarzenegger that you can tell?
What's that? I
Any
didn't get.
any funny stories about Arnold that you could
Are you
tell?
kidding me, Arnold? Uh, One time, this guy came into the gym, and he starts saying, "I'm going to replace Arnold Schwarzenegger." And everybody was like, "He's going to replace Arnold Schwarzenegger? What do you mean?" He's from, I think this guy was from Canada. So Arnold says, "Let's get the posing oil. Let's help him out." So they're putting all this oil on this poor guy, and he says, "Let's see a double bicep." The guy does a double bicep. Oh, he says, "Fantastic, fantastic." He says, "Let me see your backside." Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And then he says, "Do a most muscular." Oh my God, fantastic. But to make it better, you got to scream. So this guy, now in the first original Gold's Gym, there's a little balcony. This guy's doing a most muscular going, "Oh!" We're all going, "What the hell? I don't know, killing this guy or what?" And then he sends him to Joe Weider to tell him he's going to be the next Olympia. That's the kind of stuff Arnold would do.
Oh, tell me about Joe Weider now. I mean, did he really make bodybuilding? Did he
I
really?
think, well, you know what? There was a guy in New York, Dan Lurie. Him and Dan Lurie would compete. And I believe that Dan Lurie was one of the first to come up with an Olympia type contest. And so there was a little brawl there. But see, Joe Weider had vision. Joe said, "You know what? We're going to make this sport great, but I got to go to California with it." And he went to California, and he went to Woodland Hills, and he promoted the IFBB like you can't believe. And he would get all the guys that he thought would have a chance to compete and be good, and bring them out to California, and he would give them a small check and a place to stay for so many weeks before a show. He would sponsor them. And so and then the Flex magazine, this guy worked 7 days a week. He had the best magazine in the country, especially for bodybuilding. It was so good that it would go next to Playboy back in the day, and Playboy was the magazine. Well, he was the only one. His magazines were able to stand near Playboy and make money. So he was a hardworking man, and he really was probably the father of bodybuilding in the sense of. And Ben was, like 2 hairlines away from getting bodybuilding into the Olympics. We almost got it in there. It was very, very close, but it didn't make it. So yeah, I think they were astronomical. And then, Joe Weider's the one that said, "Yeah, the pump and iron thing will go good." And so he promoted it and made the sport great. But now it's not the same. It's like, I don't know what's going on with the IFBB because I don't keep up with it. And it's just falling apart. It's just not the same.
Well, Danny, I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but you said when you moved out to California, you were sleeping in the lifeguards.
Absolutely. I stayed in a little thing, and one of the guys said, "Danny, where are you staying?" I said, "On the beach here." I said, "Don't throw any cigarette butts because I own all this." So I did that for a couple weeks till I got on my feet, and then I rolled and I got a place. But yeah, I went through all those changes. I mean, a lot of the guys would come in trucks and they'd sleep in their vehicles,
Yeah. And they would be in Gold's Gym all day.
Champion.
And they would be in Gold's Gym all day.
Olympia. So you think you're going to make all this money. And when you get out there, you realize you need to get a job, you need to function, and you could do this part-time until you become great. And that's it. And if Joe Weider picks you up, he sponsors you, then he would give you a check. So yeah, the guys back then went through a lot of changes. They all worked out for the love of the sport. I mean, I understand the guys today, money talks, but I still don't see, thank God for the internet and the fact that they can create, you got Facebook and Twitter and the guys can make money, but I don't believe bodybuilding still paying them what they deserve. I don't see it.
Oh, and the work that they put in.
Failed.
Yeah, Sean passed away a couple of years ago. Sean, he was Mr. Olympia. He passed. I used to go out to lunch with him right after he'd work out sometimes. And his last name was Sean What was it? You know what I'm talking about, Danny?
I don't even remember, Sean. What?
He won Olympia about 4 years ago.
Yeah. See, I don't keep up with it. But here's
Well,
a guy that
he
was
had,
good too, and he's gone.
he had
What
a heart
happened?
attack.
You know,
He had a
what
heart
happened?
attack.
A lot of these guys are good guys, and the system takes advantage of them. You know, the need to be the best. They'll do anything to be the best. And again, the returns are short.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Danny. First of all, I was just thinking because you trained me off and on for so many years, and I'm still lifting, so I'm not injured that much because you always wanted to go fast. And explain to me, explain to our listeners what why you only had me to rest for 10 seconds between
See,
exercise.
here's what I would do with a client. I would say to a client, "Are you in shape?" And they say, "Yes, I'm in shape." All right. So what I would say, okay, we're not going to do single body parts. We're going to do the whole body today. So what I would do is pick what I would select exercises where I could work the whole body. So I would always start with legs first. Then I would do back, chest, and shoulders and arms, whatever. But I would give them 10 to 15 seconds. And so, and it would be pretty, not real heavyweight, medium light, just because it's like running up a hill. Let's see where your heart rate is. Let's see what kind of shape you really are in. And when you train light and fast like that, your heart rate goes to the ceiling. And believe it or not, 8 out of 10 people that I get can't finish. So then I tell them, well, what kind of shape you're in? I said, but you need to go throw up now because you look 3 different colors. I don't want you to get sick on the floor here. And they would go and then they come back and say, I'm embarrassed, Dan. He goes, I don't know if this is the kind of training I need. I said, dude, you got to work your heart first and then condition the muscle. And now you'll be an athlete. Once we do a couple weeks of this crazy stuff, we'll slow right down and we'll acclimate to muscle gain. So for me, I counted it as a conditioning type program because most people, what they think is in shape and what I think is in shape is 2 different worlds. And once you get good at this, believe it or not, you could do a 30-minute workout and be out of there and still have tremendous physique. You don't have to spend 4 hours in the gym. The thing that drives me nuts today, I see young kids, I see guys walking around with gallons of water like they're going to go to the Muhammad Desert or something. They do one set and they're still carrying the water. I don't see them drinking it. So I don't know if it's to pee in it or are you going to drink it? What is it? And they're walking around and it's like, if you got to carry a gallon of water, you must be training your butt off. And I don't see it. So I always say to them, why are you drinking water? Well, what do you mean? Water is muscle, but I don't see you working out that hard. Well, I'm on a real strict diet. Then maybe you shouldn't be here. Maybe your workout should be different. But everybody walks around now with a gallon of water and a phone or a headset with a phone and a gallon of water. How the hell are you going to work out doing that? They do one set every half hour. I said, you must be rich because when I was young, I had to go to work and I was a lot better than you were. So what is it you do? I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You know, it's funny. I tell people about you. You know what? I was very fortunate. Robbie Robinson was the first person that trained me. You were probably the third. I worked out. Samir Benu trained me. Bertrell Fox, and you. And because I was always there at the gym, I wanted somebody to work me. I mean, train me, and I learned. Now, Bertrell was slow and very powerful. Robbie was quick, not as quick as you. And Samir Benu was slower, but they all were good, and I all learned from stuff. But you were the one that was the most painful. I said I would have to go. But when I would be walking up the gym, sometimes up the stairs, I said, "Lord have mercy, I'm not going to make it again." And I would have anxiety attacks sometimes with Danny. And one time, I tell these one people, Danny had me doing a leg press or something, and it was squats or something. I don't remember what it was, and I was dying already. Danny says to me, when you're ready to start training, let me know. I'm saying to myself, God, I'm dead already. I'm dying. This man telling me, when am I ready? I swear.
No mercy.
No. But see, here's the thing, Danny. I think because of your knowledge and what you did for me, I mean, because you just taught me, and I tell people, I know how to know what to do correctly. That doesn't mean I do it correctly because sometimes I'm a coward. I don't want to go through the pain that sometimes you have to go through to get to where you want to get. But the 10 seconds rest, the 15 seconds rest, you'll never get hurt. You know, the weight's not going to be heavy enough for you to get hurt. And I would just tell people that I think, Danny, that you should have, well, before you leave, we want you to leave your email address so people can email you after we edit this and everything and get it out. And I think you should think about also having um, a consultation where people call you up and you can make money by watching them work out. Because, you know, at your age, just like you tell me, you know, you got to take it easy on yourself. If you can do 10, 15 people a day at home on the phone, and showing them what to do, would you miss the gym that much?
Well, that would be good because then I won't have to go around collecting bottles, 5-cent bottles and stuff to make a living here. You know,
I'm telling you,
my concept is totally different because I always tell everybody, not everybody wants to be Mr. America, Mr. Or Mr. Olympia. Some people just need help getting in shape, and so you get young trainers, they get a certificate of some sort, and they really don't understand. I look at a structure and say, this guy can do this. He can't do that. He's not a squatter. Forget it. You know, put him on something different because every structure is different. And so what I try to do is teach people how to train for your physique. And then the first thing I say is I want to see blood work. And I take a heart rate to make sure that if their resting heart rate is too high, I say, do you have a medical problem that I should know about? Because your heart rate's too high, or you've been drinking too much coffee. Which one is it? So you got to really know so you can help somebody. Because a person who's, let's say, heart rate is too high, and you try to give him one of my speed workouts, this guy might have his first heart attack. You don't know because they're not in shape. And what I try to teach them with a lightweight, not so light where it's, you know, Jane Fonda, but it's light where you can. It's like running up a hill. Like I've got military guys. I got a guy right now who did 7 tours, okay? And you know all these military guys come back nuts. So this poor guy was over 300 pounds. And I got him down to like 225, 230. It took us, you know, a long time. And I work with some of these guys because nobody helps these military guys. They serve the country and then they're ignored. Well, you know, you did your job, have a good life. And so this guy is like, he's in great shape. And he got in such good shape that they were asking him if he wanted to go to the Ukraine and fight. And he said to me, what do you think of that, Pops? He calls me Pops. I go, I think that's a bad idea. 7 tours. You've already died twice. Stay home with your daughter and forget about the money because they offer them good money for that, you know. But he, you know, so that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy because you get these, you know, bodybuilding is different. The guys that are getting ready for contests, they're going to train a little slower, and that's good because, and if they're really good, you know, like semi-pros are going to be a pro, their workout's going to take an hour with no doubt. But most people ain't got 3 hours to train because they're trying to make a living. So I teach them how to get a 30-minute workout and, you know, a quick, get the heart rate going and then get right onto the treadmill. Because once you deplete the sugar in your body and you get onto a treadmill, then you get into a fat zone quicker where you can burn fat and you don't have to be on a treadmill for 9 hours. So, you know, because when I was younger, I would sit on a life cycle for 3 hours getting ready for a show, you know, and that's how I did it. And it's different now, you know, the knowledge is better. And through trial and error, I've learned a lot and I do a lot of research. I do a lot of reading. I never went to college, but when I don't know something, I ask somebody who's good at it, a professional of some sort, and I get good information. So for my clients, I'm happy to work with people that are a little overweight, a lot of people that I have to rehab because they've had an injury, and bodybuilders don't know how to bring one of these guys back. You know, they think they're going to get, you know, heavy iron. No, you start with a ball, you do a little plyometrics, little by little, you get these people going. And that's how I'm doing pretty good because I've got a good name here for that.
Well, I tell you, Danny, we appreciate you having, but when people would like to get in touch with you, please tell us a couple of times your email address, please.
All right. It's giantkiller51@gmail.com.
Say it again for me.
And they could send me an email and we can make some connection where if they got a problem of some sort, I can help them. And if they want to do some internet consultations, they can just get a hold of me there. And I could even train somebody over the computer if they've got certain weights at home and stuff. I can show them how to do an incredible workout in less than 30 minutes, and you don't need 900 pounds, depending on what is the mission. I always ask them, what's your mission? What is it you're trying to accomplish? And then I say, well, I'm the guy for you, or I'm not the guy for you. And so I send to another trainer.
So we sure are going to push it for you, Danny, because the knowledge that you have, very few people have. And I think that people need to know what you have to offer. So first of all, thank you very much for coming on. You've been friends. We've been knowing each other for what, 40 years or maybe more?
At least.
Oh, yeah.
I've known you so long, I lost a little height, but I got all my hair still. So
I don't have any hair left. Okay, Danny, thank you very much.
All right, I appreciate you guys, and I'm glad that you're doing so good, Kermit.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.